When you set your goals, you need, first of all, to know what your values are. So your values, they could be things like family, career, earnings, health, happiness. They're sort of generalistic, vague types of sentiments, if you like, but they're the things that you want to live your life according to. And once you know what your values are, they should then underpin your goals. And that's where it starts to get interesting, because not many people realize that there are actually two different types of goals. There's the type of goal that says where you want to get to, and then there's the type of goal that describes how you think you're going to go about getting there. And they're two distinct things. Now, going back to your values, your goals need to be, what you want to achieve with your goals, if you like, needs to be congruent here with your values. So that's why the term congruent is up there. So it's no good having values that having goals that don't reflect your values, because you won't really commit to them and buy into them. You know, there's no point in having a goal that gets you somewhere you don't want to be. Now, in terms of the two different types, a destination goal should be positive, as in I am or I do. You should know what will actually prove that you've got there. So you'll need to know what the evidence is to know you've achieved it. So I earn so much, or I live somewhere, or whatever. Needs to be specific, and as I say, it needs to be worthwhile, and they needs to be time specific. So if it isn't time specific, it's just a wish list, and if it isn't worthwhile, then again you won't commit to it. So that's where you want to get to. But the thing is, you know, we're living our lives every moment, and we need to make the most of it. So we also need to enjoy the journey. So we also need to have goals over here that basically say the sorts of things we're going to be doing on a regular basis to actually achieve our destination goals. So these things that we're doing need to be proactive, because if they're not proactive, based on action and us taking action, then nothing happens. So we need to sort of say what we're going to do proactively, and how we're going to know that we're doing it. So we'll need to know how we're going to measure that we're actually doing this activity, this proactive activity, and how often do we measure it. We need to know what's going to enable us to know if we're doing it, and we need to know how often we're going to check that. And we also need to know in our destination goals what resources we'll need. So how much money might it require, whose help might we need, what skills and resources might we need, what materials, location, anything we need here to help us achieve our goals. So this is saying what we're going to be doing to get there, and this is saying where we're going to get to. And in both cases, the goals need to be worthwhile, time specific, and as I said earlier, congruent with our values. Now, we also need different timescales of values. So we need 10-year goals. So not 10 timescales of values, timescales of goals. You need 10-year goals. So we need to know long-term where we're aiming to get, and that needs to be across various areas. So it needs to be career, and it needs to be our family and our relationships and our health. We need various goals in various areas. And once we've got 10-year goals, we then need to sort of break those down into medium-term goals, which are 5 years, shorter-term goals, which are 1 year, and then 90-day goals or quarter of a year goals here, where you've probably seen there's books out at the moment, 90-day goals, about 90-day goals, basically. The idea being that 90 days is long enough to make a difference, but short enough to keep you focused. So we need various timescales of goals. Now, this backward arrow here, this gets really interesting, because if anyone's ever studied any NLP, they'll know about the idea of a timeline. And the idea of a timeline is that you can picture, if you close your eyes and imagine it, you can picture a line indicating where the past is and a line indicating where the future is. This line may or may not go horizontally through your head. It might go down one side, up the other, or vice versa. It might not go straight ahead. It might come from the back left to the front right, or the back right to the front left. But basically, you can picture a timeline. And once you picture your timeline, you can then picture yourself in the future on your timeline having achieved your goal, and you can experience what it feels like to achieve that goal. And once you experience what it feels like to achieve that goal, what you can then do is you can step backwards. You can do this physically. You can step backwards and say, so that's where I am now. So what did I do before that? You come back And then you say, what did I do immediately before that? And you come back and you put yourself into those positions. And the idea is that if you can come back roughly, say, half a dozen steps or so, you can map out the steps that you've achieved, if you like, to get to this goal. And because you're working backwards, you're seeing it as something you've already achieved rather than a series of barriers you've got to overcome. And you can map that out as your action plan. And that's basically probably the most effective way to come up with an action plan, is to work backwards along your timeline. And then to summarize, in all cases, all goals should be specific and measurable, so you know whether you're achieving them or not. They should be actionable, i.e. here, so that you know that you can do things to get towards achieving them. They should be relevant to you. So some people say the R stands for realistic, and you've got to be careful about that, because realistic sometimes means that you're not ambitious enough, because it puts a ceiling on what you're actually trying to achieve. So relevant is probably a better R than realistic, and the T stands for time-based. And then they should always be personal, as in I. They should always be present tense, as in I am, I do. So you're actually going back to the NLP thing, you're actually picturing and feeling yourself already there. And they should be positive. And positive is very interesting, because if they're not positive, basically the subconscious mind focuses on the thing that you're talking about. So if you say you want to lose weight, the subconscious mind thinks weight. If you say you want to stop smoking, I mean, I don't smoke, but as an example, the subconscious mind thinks smoke. So you have to be positive, as in I weigh a certain amount, or I am healthy and I am a non-smoker. You have to make a positive statement rather than a negative, because the subconscious mind can't process a negative. The whole area is fascinating. And I took some of this from a book called, I don't know if you can see this, it's called Coaching with NLP by O'Connor and Large, which I think is quite good, actually. So there you have it. Do your values underpin both your destination goals and your journey goals? Thanks very much for watching.